So you may have seen in our previous video that we recently just flew this guy all the way from Australia to LA and then onward to Cancun, Mexico. So in this video we want to share our whole experience, how it works, and hopefully give you a few tips if you are planning on flying your dog in cargo as well. So if you're like us and know absolutely nothing about importing dogs, whether it's internationally or really anywhere, there's a lot to sort of know before you come. One of the things that we found, especially just because Bear's a larger dog, is that he actually had to go in the cargo space, and we had a lot of sort of negative feedback about having to do that, and also felt a bit uncomfortable about it because we didn't know much about it to begin with. But the process actually went really smoothly, and we felt a lot more comfortable after we spoke with the company that we actually worked with in getting him from Australia to America, which is called Pet Traveler. They're based out of Australia, and they really helped us understand a lot better how the whole process works and how many people actually do it every single day.
Yeah, it is quite common, and I will just say one thing, like if you're just coming for a holiday, I wouldn't recommend this. Like, this is something that we decided to do because we were relocating and we knew we were going to be here for a long time. If you're just coming for like a few weeks or whatever, it can be quite stressful, not only for you but for your dog. Although the dogs are taken care of very well and it is super safe, just mentally it's very stressful. I'm not going to lie, we were very anxious the whole time.
Yeah, we had a few variables that come up that wouldn't normally happen for other people, like canceled flights and delayed flights and things like that, which can happen because you are sort of at the mercy of whatever airline that you're flying with. But so I think we had that extra added stress as well, on top of it already being a bit of a anxiety-inducing event to do. But yeah, it is a very big thing for your dog and a really anxiety, stressful day, if we're being completely honest. So just keep that in mind if you're doing a shorter trip. Maybe if you have a smaller dog, they can fly in the cabin with you. Each airline is different, so maybe that would be a little bit easier. I'm not sure. But for dogs of Bear's size, it's definitely something you want to consider and really think about before you do it.
Yeah, so basically if your dog is under 7 kilos and can fit in a traveller crate that goes under the seat, they're allowed in the cabin with you. I imagine that'd be a bit easier because you actually can be in contact with your dog, but I can see that being stressful too. I mean, I wouldn't want my dog barking or shitting in the middle of the plane. Like, that could be pretty stressful.
Yeah.
I imagine it's just as similar as travelling with a small baby, like it could be pretty stressful as well. But if you're like us and you're wondering, is it safe to travel with your pet, especially in the cargo section of the plane, then we're going to answer as many questions as we can right now. This is everything we sort of wanted to know before we did it, and hopefully you can make the right decision for you and your dog and decide if you're going to bring them overseas with you. So number one is using a pet travel company. Now, we used a pet travel company, as we said, called Pet Traveler from Australia to LA. The reason we did that is because there are a lot of rules and regulations, plus it's such a long journey, and they helped us get everything in place. So what they were able to help us with was booking and confirming our pet's flight, the administration of mandatory vaccinations and health treatments, preparing and lodging all pre-flight documentation, including veterinary certificates, airline security and customs clearances, as well as government permits and appointments. They also coordinated any pre- and post-flight quarantine, which there was no post-flight quarantine required for Bear, luckily, because he was flying into the United States. They were able to provide us with a customised airline-approved sky crate, and that came with an ultra-absorbent sky bed. So basically, if Bear was to go to the toilet or spill any of his water, it would get absorbed, so he wouldn't be just soaking in his own pee, which wouldn't be nice for long flight.
Yeah, we weren't really sure what to expect when he arrived from the plane because obviously he's on there for a while. He could go to the toilet. We kind of know him though. We know he's like pretty picky about where he goes to the toilet. So he was completely dry and nothing was in his crate when he arrived, but every dog's different.
They also organised for us a qualified pet concierge to perform a health check, and they were able to put him up in a pet hotel the night before he flew out. So the one issue we ran into was he was supposed to stay in the pet hotel for just one night. He then was put into the crate, had all his checks done, put onto the plane, and unfortunately realised that they were having an issue with regulating the temperature in the cargo section, which is really important because if the temperature isn't regulated, it's obviously going to get too cold. And because they knew that there was live animals on there, they weren't willing to take the risk that something might go wrong while they were up in the air. So they actually pulled Bear from the flight. So his flight was delayed by 24 hours and he spent a second night at the pet hotel. His second flight actually got delayed by another 24 hours. So Bear unfortunately ended up spending 3 nights at the pet hotel. But they did take good care of him and they sent us videos of walking him. We were just on edge a little bit because obviously he didn't know what was going on and he's getting in and out of this crate. And I think the hardest thing about the whole thing was like not being able to tell him what's happening.
Yeah, then that made us more anxious, but he was definitely well looked after.
So for the last 12 months, we've been lucky enough to fly to so many amazing places and have some pretty incredible experiences, such as riding motorbikes through the jungle in Bali, going on a food tour in Saigon, taking a luxury boat cruise in Vietnam, and even getting married in Las Vegas. And we just want to say a big thank you to one of our major sponsors who've been with us from the beginning, which is Surfshark. They've helped make all of this possible along the way. Surfshark provides us with our own VPN while we're traveling, and in case you don't know what VPN stands for, it's Virtual Private Network. Having a VPN keeps us safe by covering up everything we do while we're working online, whether we're connecting to Wi-Fi in a cafe or an airport. When our computers connect to the internet, all of our information is encrypted, which means nobody can go in and look through our emails or get into our bank accounts or anything like that. And that really gives us the confidence to use public Wi-Fi. But aside from just providing us with security while we're on the road, Surfshark also makes it possible for us to access things like Hulu, which for some reason is only available in the United States. With our Surfshark VPN, we can choose which country's server we want to connect to. So in this case, we just select the US and boom, we can sign up to Hulu and start watching shows like The Handmaid's Tale, which isn't available on any other platform, at least that we know of. It also includes a Disney bundle, which gives you ESPN Plus, which means I get access to all my sports content when we're on the road. But the best part about Surfshark is that it's completely risk-free. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you sign up to Surfshark and you're not completely happy with it, no questions asked, they will give you a 100% refund. And on top of all of that, they're offering their best deal ever right now, which is 85% off plus your first 3 months for free. All you need to do is use code Lloyd and Mandy when you're signing up. We'll leave a link down below in the description. So if you're interested in giving it a try, hit the link down below, click the button and use code Lloyd and Mandy. And thanks again Surfshark for continuing to sponsor our channel. You've really made all of this possible. So it's important to note also that you do not need to be on the same flight as your dog if you're flying them over as freight, which is what we did from Sydney to LA. Obviously we were already over in North America, so we used Pet Traveller to organise him getting on the flight, and then we just had to pick him up from Qantas Freight at the other end. So the next thing to think about, and this is probably like what gave us the most concern, is what's it actually like in the cabin. To be honest, there's no real way of us actually knowing because we're not there. But the pet travel company did put us at ease and let us know that they would be comfortable. So as long as they got a comfortable travel crate, the temperature's good, they got plenty of water, the lights are dimmed, they should be totally fine. The travel crate is actually secured so it can't move around, and it's not surrounded by like luggage or anything like that. It's actually in its own separate place. So we think everything should be pretty comfortable for dogs while they're flying. So before the flight, the captain is informed that your pet is on the plane, and the lights are dimmed in the cargo area and the temperature is set to the correct amount so that your dog has a comfortable flight and can relax. I think, to be honest, it's probably a little bit distressing during takeoff, but after that, I think it would be pretty calm in there.
Yeah.
Also, the air pressure in the cargo space is exactly the same as it would be in the passenger area. So essentially, it's the same as flying in a regular seat on a plane. It's just that it's underneath. It's not noisy. And as I said, like the temperature and everything is controlled. So it's pretty much identical to as it would be in the main cabin. So the next question to be answered is the age limit for dogs travelling overseas. So pets must be 8 weeks old to travel domestically and 12 to 15 weeks old to travel internationally. There are different airlines that have minimum age rules. It is generally accepted that you cannot fly a puppy that is younger than 8 weeks. Many countries such as the UK and other countries in the EU do not permit unvaccinated puppies younger than the age of 12 weeks to enter the country. So the big question is, how much does it all cost to relocate a dog? And the answer is from Sydney, Australia to Los Angeles, which probably would have been around the same if we were flying him directly to Canada, was around $6,000. It's what we got quoted. But to fly him from LA to Cancun was a little different because we didn't fly him over as freight. We just flew him as oversized baggage or excess baggage. We only had to pay an extra $150 US fee.
Yeah, we had quite a few people just say that we were being a bit cruel putting him down there. But honestly, if there was a better alternative, trust that we would have done that. Bear is too big to be in the cabin. He would not fit anywhere. So before anyone comments anything negative, just know that we did the best option that was possible for Bear.
And also, the Alaska Airlines staff were really good. They actually made us feel really at ease. They said that he'd be really well looked after, and I could tell that they were genuine about it. They seemed like really nice people, and he was well looked after. And yeah, I would highly recommend Alaska Airlines. So there are a few things you have to think about with the travel crate. We ran into a few problems because we had a travel crate come over from Australia to LA with Bear that was specifically designed for him for that flight. When we rang Alaska Airlines and a bunch of other airlines, they told us that it was too long by about 2 inches, which was really disappointing because we had this travel crate ready to go and we couldn't use it. We had to leave it at the freight company. So we went on a mad scramble in LA looking for another crate that would fit their requirements. It was still big enough for Bear. It was the same height, same width. It was just a tiny bit shorter. So we had to go and buy that. Basically, the requirements are your dog needs to be able to stand up fully without hitting its head or anything on the crate. It needs to be able to lay down flat. It needs to also be able to turn around in the crate, and it needs to have a bowl in the crate that can be filled from the outside with water. So that's basically so that before the dog gets on the plane, they fill it up with water, and when the dog gets off the plane, before you come and pick it up, they can then put more water in it so your dog has enough water.
We will link the travel crate that we ended up using. It'll be on our Amazon storefront. If you're interested, we'll leave it in the description. That's the one that we ended up using flying with Alaska Air.
So boarding the flight, we obviously weren't there to board the flight in Australia, but we did have to take him to LAX airport, and this was one of the most distressing things we had to do because we put him in the crate before we got into our Uber because we knew it was going to be tough getting him in a crate, and we also didn't know if the Uber was going to accept him not in the crate. So we thought, let's get him in there. We're only 10 minutes from the airport. Once he's in, he'll calm down and it'll be fine. We were pretty disappointed when we got to the airport and they told us he had to get out so that they could check the crate, and then we'd have to get him back in. He wasn't too keen on getting in the first time. The second time he actually was alright. I think he knew
seemed okay.
what was going on and that this wasn't forever. He was going to get out. But basically we just went to the normal check-in counter. We had already booked excess baggage, or had booked Bear to be on the flight. So they knew that. They asked us a few questions. They actually didn't get any paperwork off us.
No.
They put a bunch of stickers on the crate to say that there was an animal in there and that it had to face this way and our names were on it. And then they gave us a piece of paper as sort of proof that he was our dog. And then the last thing they told us was when we're on the flight, a flight attendant must come up to us in our seat and hand us a little card to say that Bear was on the plane. If we didn't get that card, we were not to leave. We basically were going to stand up and say, we're not going anywhere, our dog's not on the plane. And it was a bit scary because they shut the doors and everything and like started getting ready to take off and no one had come up to us, and I'm like jumping out of my seat going, we haven't got a card, where's our dog? Luckily they gave it to us just before we left.
One thing that I sort of noticed with the whole experience is that no one else really understands how big of a deal it is. I guess just because I was really anxious and worried about Bear. For everyone else, it's quite routine and they do it all the time. So just keep that in mind, I guess. No one else really understands how you'll be feeling and how worried you'll be.
Yeah. Offloading your dog. So this was different in both situations. The first instance where we sent him over as freight using Qantas to LAX was pretty straightforward. We just had to go to the freight department of Qantas and give them some paperwork, fill out some forms. We then had to go to US Customs and get him cleared. This was before we picked him up. We just basically took our passport and some papers and they gave us a stamp. Alright, we've just arrived at Qantas Freight, which is like near LAX. I guess they bring Bear over here after he arrives. I just have to wait for some paperwork and then jump in another Uber to customs and get him all cleared, and then Uber back here and we can take him back to the hotel. We then went back and just had to wait for him, which was difficult because by this time it had been like, I don't know, like 17, maybe 18 hours that he'd been in a crate and we didn't know what his situation was, what his condition was. It was really tough, actually.
I'm an emotional wreck. I'm already like tearing up just knowing that he's in the same country. I'm already crying.
But then eventually after about probably 2 hours, they told us he was ready to be picked up and they wheeled him out on the crate, actually on a forklift, which was a bit strange.
Wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah, but I mean, they were being really careful with him, and a lot of the guys were standing around because they had all, I think, made friends with him while they were waiting. Honestly, straight away, he was in really good spirits. Like, he was just excited to see us. He was running around. He seemed fine. So that made us feel a lot better for the second flight, which we had the next day to Cancun. But obviously, because we were doing it on our own this time, we were a bit more stressed. And to be completely honest, him disembarking and getting him at Cancun airport was not great. The airport staff just didn't really seem to care.
No.
So basically, we landed. We had to go through immigration, which took ages because it was busy time of year to travel, I guess. We got to our baggage claim and there was literally hundreds of people there. So we were expecting there to be like a oversized baggage section like there usually is at airports, and that he would be there. We couldn't see one, so we went and asked one of the staff like where he would be put, and he told us that he would be just put on the conveyor belt like everything else. And I said, but it's oversized baggage. And he said, yeah, on a conveyor belt. And I said, but it's a dog in a crate. And he said, yeah, everything goes on the conveyor belt. And I was not really too happy to hear that, because I just pictured Bear on this conveyor belt just going around in circles or falling off. It just seemed like
so unsafe.
Very unsafe, and like they didn't care. I think though that was a breakdown in communication. We ended up going through hundreds of people and finding him just sitting there in his crate surrounded by people. There was some people like looking at him wondering what's a dog doing sitting here. We were thinking the same thing, like did they really just
drop him here by himself,
bring our dog out and just drop him there? Like I was actually kind of stunned by the whole thing. Luckily a lady next to us helped us get him out of the crate and told us that she saw two guys basically just bring him out and drop him there. So we got him out of the crate, and then we had to pick up our bags, which took forever. The next part was we had to clear customs. So we got all our bags and everything through, but then there's a secondary part that you have to do to clear your dog.
There was a lot of staff that was working at the airport. They saw me with Bear, and a lot of people were coming over and saying you need to get him checked through here, and they were sort of navigating me where to go. It was pretty straightforward. We took Bear to the animal or agriculture area, and the lady, obviously she didn't speak English, but she basically just said she needed to look at Bear, and pretty much just looked at his hair on near his bum and looked at his ear, and then that was the whole check. So it was pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and all she needed to look at was, as far as paperwork, all she needed was
a rabies certificate. So we had his rabies certificate already. She photocopied that. Once we cleared that, we thought we were home free, and we ended up getting secondary search just randomly. You push a button and it either goes green or it goes red. Ours went red. So we had to stand in line and basically get all of our luggage checked, but they didn't really check much. I think the lady there sort of could see that we were in a little bit of distress and passed us through pretty quickly. So that's it, we were home free, and when we got outside it was pretty chaotic. Bear went to the nearest piece of grass and did his business. And we got him into a private taxi that we ordered and got him back here to Playa del Carmen. So all in all it was pretty stressful. It was a stressful few days, actually probably more like a stressful few weeks of planning and getting him over here. But I can honestly say it's worth it, because he is here with us now, and we've only had to do it once. We're not going to do that again. No,
we're never putting him on a plane again, but yeah, really thankful that we did it, and that everything ended up being okay. Even though it was stressful, it's 100% worth it.
At the end of the day, the decision's up to you. If you're relocating and you think you need your dog with you, it's definitely doable and it is safe, but I'm not going to lie, it is pretty stressful. If you're just going on holidays, I would think twice about it though. And also, maybe don't let other people who have never done this type of thing influence your judgment. Speak to professionals and do some research with other people who have done this sort of thing.
Dogs are part of the family. If you find yourself in the same situation as us, with a larger dog that cannot travel in cabin, they can travel cargo, but just know what you're getting into before you do it.
So we'll leave a link down below to some information about how to go about it, the pet traveler company that we used, the airlines that we used, and some information about the crates, so that maybe it'll make it a little bit easier for you if you are planning to do it.
We hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for all future travel content, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye!